Mia Nguyen, an ambitious young flight attendant, began her shift with her usual professional demeanor. As an employee of Skywings Airlines, she was highly regarded for her polished appearance, quick problem-solving skills, and impeccable conduct. Yet beneath her confident exterior lay unconscious biases she herself was unaware of. Today's flight from New York to Los Angeles seemed routine. The cabin crew prepared meticulously, arranging beverages, checking seats, and welcoming passengers. Mia led the first-class service team, believing the space to be reserved for those she considered the right caliber. As passengers boarded, Mia maintained her professional smile until one caught her attention. A black man, dressed simply in a light blue shirt and jeans, confidently stepped into the first-class cabin carrying a leather briefcase. He appeared unremarkable. Mia immediately felt uneasy. A thought crossed her mind. How does he have a first-class ticket? There must be some mistake. Despite her reservations, Mia kept her composure. When the man took his seat, she approached him with a slightly tense expression, speaking politely but with a hint of suspicion. "Sir, may I see your ticket? Please." The man, David Carter, looked up and met Mia's gaze with calm eyes. Without a word, he pulled his ticket from his pocket and handed it to her. Mia examined it and saw it was fully valid. Still, she couldn't shake her doubts. "Thank you," Mia said, her tone somewhat reluctant. She walked away but continued to glance in his direction, telling herself to keep a close eye on this passenger throughout the flight. As the plane took off, Mia continued with her duties. However, each time she passed David's seat, an inexplicable discomfort gnawed at her. She scrutinized his every move, from taking out his laptop to ordering a drink. To Mia, everything about David seemed out of place for a first-class passenger. The tension escalated when David requested a glass of red wine. Still attempting to maintain a polite facade, Mia brought the wine to him but couldn't resist a sarcastic remark. "Sir, this is our finest wine. I hope you're familiar with it." David looked up, raising an eyebrow. He detected the lack of goodwill in her tone but responded calmly. "Thank you. I'm quite familiar with it." David's straightforward reply only fueled Mia's irritation. She decided to approach the flight manager, voicing her suspicion that David might have somehow cheated his way into first class. After a brief discussion, the flight manager approached David, requesting an explanation for his presence in the cabin. David, now visibly annoyed, presented his ticket again. He didn't raise his voice, but his composure and confidence felt like a challenge to Mia. Nearby passengers began to take notice, with some even recording the interaction on their phones. After verifying the ticket, the flight manager confirmed that David was fully entitled to his seat. However, before leaving, Mia blurted out, "We hope you understand that first class is meant for those who are adequately prepared and appropriate for it." That remark was the final straw. David stood up, his cold gaze fixed on Mia. "What did you just say?" "Don't worry. I understand your meaning very clearly." Silence enveloped the first-class cabin. Some passengers began whispering to each other, while Mia felt her throat tighten. Yet, she maintained her outwardly frosty demeanor. The flight landed in a tense atmosphere. David left without saying another word. But he knew the matter couldn't end there. Another passenger had recorded the entire incident and uploaded it to social media as soon as the plane touched down. Within hours, the video garnered millions of views. Netizens quickly condemned Mia's actions, labeling her a symbol of racism and class prejudice. Her name became a trending topic across social media platforms. Unaware of the unfolding storm, Mia received a call from a colleague, their voice filled with concern. "Mia, you're at the center of a massive controversy. The video of you and that black passenger is going viral. You need to see it immediately." Mia opened her phone to find a flood of critical and even threatening comments. A wave of fear washed over her. She quickly called her manager, but the response offered no clear resolution to the situation. The next day, as the situation spiraled out of control, Skywings Airlines held a press conference to issue a public apology. Mia was placed on temporary suspension while the airline conducted further investigations. She not only faced public humiliation but also feared that her career was now in jeopardy. Meanwhile, David Carter became the focus of media attention. He accepted an invitation for an interview on a major news network. But instead of condemning Mia or the airline, he spoke calmly. "I don't want this incident to turn into a personal attack. What I hope for is a fair environment where everyone is treated equally, regardless of their race or social status." David's statement garnered widespread support. However, what truly stunned the public was the revelation he made at the end of the interview. "I'm currently in negotiations for a major deal with Skywings. If everything goes as planned, I'll have the authority to influence the airline's future policies." His words sent shockwaves through both the media and Skywings. For Mia, it was a sobering realization that her actions might lead to consequences far beyond anything she had ever anticipated. The next morning, Mia woke up in a state of shock. She couldn't bring herself to check her phone, dreading the flood of notifications, messages, and comments on social media. A sense of humiliation and anxiety consumed her. Trying to collect herself, she went to the office to meet with her superiors, but the cold atmosphere hit her as soon as she walked in. Richard, the flight manager, called Mia into a private meeting room. His face was more serious than she had ever seen. "Mia, I can't defend you this time. You've brought the entire airline into a massive public relations crisis. The leadership has decided to suspend you pending further investigation." Mia opened her mouth to respond, but any explanation she might have offered felt irrelevant. Richard continued, "You need to understand. This isn't just about you. This is about the entire image of Skywings. The video has gone viral at an incredible speed, and the whole world is scrutinizing us with harsh judgment." Mia felt her throat tighten. She left the office in silence, walking past the curious and pitying glances of her colleagues. Once outside, she broke down in tears, feeling as though her future was crumbling. Worse, she realized this wasn't just about her career. It was about who she was as a person and the biases she had never confronted before. Meanwhile, David Carter was preparing for a significant move. After the interview, he returned to his office in New York. The headquarters of VisionNet, the tech company David owned, stood as a symbol of modernity and innovation. David met with his legal and financial teams to discuss the acquisition of Skywings. This wasn't a decision made overnight. Even before the incident with Mia, David had been quietly negotiating to purchase the airline as part of his strategy to expand influence in the travel and transportation industries. However, the incident on the flight had brought everything to a head. Looking around the boardroom, his gaze calm but piercing, David said, "This is more than just a business deal. This is an opportunity to do the right thing. I want Skywings to become a trailblazer in promoting equality and dismantling biases. And I want everyone to understand this isn't about retaliating for the injustice I faced. It's about creating real, lasting change." His team nodded in agreement. One of David's top attorneys added, "The deal is set to be announced in a few days. Once finalized, you'll have full control over Skywings' policies." David nodded. He understood that he now held not only immense power but also great responsibility. He didn't want his story to be seen as a petty act of revenge. Instead, he aimed to turn it into a profound lesson for the entire industry. A week later, Mia received unexpected news. David Carter, the man she had humiliated on the flight, was now officially the new owner of Skywings. Panic surged through her as she wondered if David would use his newfound authority to punish her. Shortly after, she was summoned to the company headquarters for a meeting with David and the management team. Filled with anxiety, Mia entered the conference room. David sat at the head of the table, his demeanor calm yet commanding. The other executives remained silent. For the first few minutes, David said nothing, flipping through Mia's file. Then, he looked up, his gaze piercing. "Mia Nguyen, do you understand the consequences of your actions?" Mia lowered her head. her voice trembling. "Mr. Carter, I sincerely apologize for what happened. I wasn't aware of my behavior, and I deeply regret it." David was silent for a moment before replying. "I don't need your apology. What I need is action. Starting today, you will participate in a 3-month special training program on cultural diversity and respect. This is not a punishment. It's an opportunity for you to understand that the biases you carry don't just affect me but countless others as well." Mia nodded, unable to say anything more. David continued, "I don't believe in destroying someone's career over a single mistake. But I do believe in change. Are you willing to change?" Mia responded immediately, "Yes, sir. I'm ready." On the first day of the training program, Mia entered a large classroom where about 20 other employees were also present. Some appeared to be there voluntarily, while others, like Mia, likely felt compelled. The lead instructor was a psychologist specializing in the study of bias and discrimination in society. The first session focused on identifying unconscious bias. The instructor asked everyone to write down their initial thoughts when shown a series of images of people with varying skin colors, clothing styles, and professions. Mia was surprised to realize that her thoughts, though she didn't want to admit it, carried a certain level of bias. In another practical session, participants were divided into small groups to discuss personal experiences related to discrimination. One of Mia's colleagues, an African-American man, shared his story about being frequently suspected of theft whenever he entered a high-end store. As Mia listened, her heart grew heavy. She began to understand how small, seemingly normal actions she had previously dismissed could deeply hurt others. Over the course of 3 months, Mia gradually transformed. She not only learned to recognize her biases but also how to challenge and overcome them. She started to feel grateful to David for giving her the chance to redeem herself rather than destroying her future entirely. Mia had completed the 3-month training program, but its lessons continued to resonate deeply within her. She felt a significant shift in how she viewed the world. However, the media storm surrounding her actions was far from over. One day, a feature article was published in a prominent magazine, delving into Mia's past. The article revealed that Mia had endured a difficult childhood. Born and raised in an immigrant family in the U.S., her parents worked tirelessly in factories to support their family. Mia's family frequently faced discrimination and prejudice. As a child, she had witnessed her father being humiliated by a store owner for not speaking fluent English. Her mother had once cried after being denied service by a customer because of her darker skin tone. These painful experiences had left deep scars in Mia's mind, making her feel ashamed of her origins. As she grew up and entered the aviation industry, Mia worked relentlessly to distance herself from the image of a poor immigrant. But unwittingly, the wounds from her past had turned into biases she projected onto others. When the article went viral, Mia felt exposed. While some sympathized with her story, many still condemned her. She was once a victim, yet she turned around and discriminated against others. How ironic. Mia realized she could no longer run from her past. She needed to confront it, not just to seek redemption, but to truly understand herself. Mia began participating in community activities to support people who had experienced circumstances similar to her family's. She dedicated her time to working with nonprofit organizations that assist immigrants and marginalized groups in society. Through this work, Mia encountered many individuals with heartbreaking yet inspiring stories. One evening, while distributing donations to an immigrant community, Mia met a shy 12-year-old girl named Anna. When asked, Anna shared that she was often teased by her classmates for not speaking English well. As Mia listened, she saw herself in Anna, a young girl who had been hurt but didn't know how to defend herself. Mia gently told Anna, "You're very brave. Don't let other people's words make you feel like you're less than you are. You have value, and you have every right to be proud of where you come from." Those words were not only meant for Anna but also served as a reminder for Mia herself. For the first time in years, Mia began to embrace her roots and her past. She realized that denying her identity had only kept her trapped in a cycle of pain and prejudice. Mia decided that she needed to meet David Carter in person to apologize directly. She didn't want to send a letter or email. She felt this was something she had to do face to face. One morning, Mia reached out to David's secretary to request a meeting. Initially, the secretary declined, citing David's busy schedule. However, Mia persisted. She wrote a heartfelt letter by hand, expressing her regret and her desire to make amends. Finally, David agreed to meet her. The meeting took place in David's private office, a spacious yet understated room with warm tones and natural lighting. As Mia entered, she felt a wave of nervousness. David sat at his desk, his expression calm and composed. "Ms. Nguyen," David said, gesturing for her to sit. "I understand you requested to see me." Mia nodded, trying to steady herself. She began to speak, her voice trembling but sincere. "Mr. Carter, I know that nothing I say or do can undo the harm I caused, but I want you to know how deeply I regret my actions. Over the past few months, I've learned so much, and I want to offer you my most heartfelt apology." David listened intently without interrupting. When Mia finished, he was silent for a moment before responding. "I accept your apology, but I want you to understand that your actions didn't just affect me. They impacted many others as well. What matters now is that you continue to show through your actions that you've truly changed." Mia nodded, understanding that words alone weren't enough. She left David's office with a renewed sense of determination, not only to change herself but also to contribute to creating a better and more inclusive workplace for everyone. After her apology, Mia worked diligently to regain the trust of her colleagues and passengers. She joined an internal Skywings project aimed at improving customer service and training employees on cultural diversity, a program initiated by David Carter soon after he became the airline's owner. Mia was one of the first to enroll in the program and quickly demonstrated her leadership abilities. She organized workshops and shared her story as a cautionary tale. Initially, many colleagues remained skeptical of her intentions, but over time, they began to see the sincerity in her efforts. During one workshop, Mia stood in front of a group of new employees. She recounted her story, from her mistakes to her journey of redemption. At the end of the session, a young employee approached her and said, "Ms. Mia, your story really inspired me. I think we need more people like you to help transform our workplace." Those words gave Mia a sense of encouragement. She realized that her actions, however small, could make a significant impact. Mia began to see her past not as something to erase or hide, but as a foundation to learn from and grow. Mia gradually became a key figure in Skywings' internal reform project, going beyond participation to introduce bold initiatives. One of her most impactful proposals was a program called Equality on Wings, designed to raise employees' awareness of cultural, racial, and gender equality issues. Mia not only proposed the program but also volunteered to lead it. The program began with workshops and experience-sharing sessions, attracting hundreds of employees from various departments. Mia meticulously prepared for each session, spending hours researching materials and inviting respected experts to speak. During one workshop, Mia shared her personal story with the entire room. Her voice occasionally trembled, but her gaze remained steady. "I used to think that the biases I carried were harmless, but I've realized that even small prejudices can deeply hurt others. Now, I'm learning to correct those mistakes, not to escape responsibility, but to change myself and help make this environment better for everyone." After Mia's speech, the room erupted in applause. A senior colleague who had witnessed the incident between Mia and David stepped onto the stage, took her hand, and said, "We need more brave people like you to bring about real change." This support made Mia feel recognized, but she knew that building genuine trust would require persistence and continued effort. One day, David Carter decided to host a private meeting with employees deeply involved in the internal reform project. Among those invited was Mia, which left her both excited and nervous. This was an opportunity for her to better understand the man she had once treated unfairly, a man who had now become an unspoken mentor to her. The meeting was held in a small, intimate space. David arrived in a simple suit, shedding his usual stern demeanor for a more approachable one. He began the conversation by sharing his own journey, from a boy growing up in a poor Detroit neighborhood to becoming a successful entrepreneur. David spoke about the times he had been rejected and underestimated because of his skin color and appearance. There were days when I walked into the company office, but no one believed I was the CEO. They thought I was a delivery person or a junior employee. Each time that happened, I didn't get angry. I just told myself, they'll realize their mistake. And I worked even harder to prove them wrong. David's story deeply moved Mia. She realized that he was not only a strong and resilient man but also someone with immense compassion. Instead of seeking revenge on Mia or those who had wronged him, David chose to use his power to create positive change. As the conversation concluded, David approached Mia and said, "You're doing well, Mia. Don't stop now. I see the change in you, and I believe you can inspire others to change too." Although Mia had garnered support from many colleagues, not everyone agreed with the changes she and David were implementing. A group of senior employees began voicing complaints about Skywing's new policies, claiming they overly emphasized equality at the expense of healthy competition. During an internal meeting, a veteran employee named James spoke up. "I'm not denying that we need to respect diversity, but these new policies are undermining the spirit of competition and workplace efficiency. Why should we change a system that's worked well for so many years?" James's statement garnered agreement from some, sparking a heated debate. Mia, now accustomed to handling pressure, calmly responded, "James, I understand your concerns, but the system we think of as working well has, in fact, excluded many talented individuals simply because they didn't fit a certain mold. We're not changing it to break things down, but to build a fairer environment where everyone has the opportunity to thrive." The debate continued for hours, but Mia's patience and well-reasoned arguments gradually won people over. James, while not fully convinced, began to see the issue from a different perspective. David decided that Skywings needed a groundbreaking initiative to solidify its new image. Together with Mia, he worked to launch a major charity project called Wings of Hope, aimed at supporting underprivileged communities and special passengers. The project involved providing free tickets to individuals in need, sponsoring humanitarian flights, and collaborating with global charitable organizations. Mia was entrusted with leading the project, a challenge that was not only significant but also an opportunity for her to prove her abilities. Throughout their collaboration, Mia and David spent more time together, gaining a deeper understanding of one another. They were no longer just a superior and subordinate, but gradually became companions on a journey of transformation. One day, as they stood on the tarmac to send off the first humanitarian flight of the project, David turned to Mia and said, "You know, I used to think change was incredibly difficult, but you've shown me I was wrong. People like you make me believe that anyone can change if they truly want to." Mia smiled, her heart warming. For the first time, she no longer felt like someone making amends for past mistakes but rather a part of something far greater. The Wings of Hope project garnered significant attention from the media and the public. The humanitarian flights, designed to connect underprivileged individuals with new opportunities, became a symbol of Skywing's transformation. However, not everything went smoothly. One day, as Mia was preparing for a humanitarian flight to transport 50 children affected by war in a Middle Eastern country to educational centers in the U.S., she received an urgent email from the company's legal team, another nonprofit organization, which had been planning a similar program, accused Skywings of stealing their idea. The media quickly picked up on the story, and within hours, headlines began to surface. Skywings, hero or credit thief? Mia was alarmed, but David remained as composed as ever. He called an emergency meeting with the leadership team. In the boardroom, all eyes were on Mia, the project lead. Despite her anxiety, she spoke firmly. I can assure everyone that we did not copy this idea. This project has been in the works for months. David nodded, signaling his trust. What matters now is not proving we're right, but staying true to our mission. Mia, what's your plan to address this crisis? Mia proposed a strategy, hosting a transparent press conference to share all the details of the project while reaching out to the accusing organization to collaborate instead of competing. Although negotiations were challenging, both parties eventually agreed to work together to achieve their shared goal of helping children. After the press conference, a journalist approached Mia and asked, "How do you handle such immense pressure?" Mia smiled and replied, "I see pressure as an opportunity to prove our worth. The important thing is to never abandon the right mission." The collaboration event between Skywings and the nonprofit organization created a wave of positive reactions. The media began praising the airline's crisis management approach, with special attention given to Mia's role. From being harshly criticized, Mia had now become a symbol of transformation and courage. At Skywings headquarters, David hosted a small ceremony to honor employees who had significantly contributed to the reform projects. To her surprise, Mia was the first to be called to the stage to receive an award. David handed her a medal engraved with the words, "Courage and Change." Standing in front of everyone, Mia felt her throat tighten. Memories of her first day of suspension, the scrutinizing gazes, and the shame of confronting her mistakes came flooding back. But now, she stood there not just as someone who had redeemed herself, but as someone who had truly changed. In her brief speech, Mia said, "I want to thank everyone for giving me the chance to start over. This is not my personal achievement, but the result of unity and trust. I hope my story serves as proof that anyone can change if they are willing to face the truth and take action." David, standing below, nodded in approval. He knew that giving Mia a second chance had been the right decision. A year after the pivotal event, Skywings had become a trailblazer in promoting equality and diversity. The airline's training programs were widely adopted, setting a new standard in the aviation industry. Mia, now the director of employee training and development, held a position she had never dared to dream of. She spent most of her time designing courses on cultural awareness and customer service while personally training new employees. One day, while overseeing a training session, Mia received a call from an unfamiliar number. She answered, and a familiar voice spoke on the other end. "Ms. Nguyen, I just wanted to say how proud I am of what you've accomplished." It was David. Despite being busy with a multitude of new projects, he had continued to follow Mia's journey. They talked for a while, and when the call ended, Mia felt an unusual warmth. It wasn't just the acknowledgement from someone she had once wronged, but the profound realization that she had truly redeemed herself and contributed to meaningful change. On the 2-year anniversary of the fateful flight incident, Skywings held a grand event to reflect on its reform journey and honor those who contributed. Mia, alongside David, stood on stage to share their story in front of thousands of employees, customers, and partners. David began his speech by revisiting that day. 2 years ago, a small incident became the catalyst for a major transformation. Today, we are not here to dwell on past mistakes but to celebrate courage and the willingness to change. Skywings has not just evolved, but has become a place where everyone can learn and grow. Mia followed, feeling truly confident for the first time as she addressed such a large crowd. "I am living proof that anyone can make mistakes, but more importantly, we can correct them not just for ourselves but for those around us. I am proud to be a part of Skywings and this incredible journey of change." The event concluded with resounding applause. As the stage lights dimmed, Mia looked out at the audience and saw many familiar faces, those who had once criticized her, doubted her, and those who had believed in her. All of them were smiling. For Mia, this was not the end. It was the beginning of a new journey, one where she worked not only to improve herself but also to help build a fairer and more compassionate world.